A lot of times we get to experience this state of thinking actually when we're expressing ourselves and communicating our thoughts with other people, or maybe just writing down a journal or anything, right? A form of expression, speech or text or written, right? Your mind, in your mind, you know exactly what you want to say and how you want to say it, but the precision of words is not very effective, which means the right words are not just coming out. You're trying your best. You're constantly and consciously, attempting to come up with the right words to explain your point or just convey the message, but it's not working. And it's not a very it has become more and more common in English learners, especially from Pakistan or countries where we don't necessarily have too much exposure of the language in real life. So this is the problem, right? You know the word when you're reading it, or when you listen somewhere, you might recognize it. You might instantly and quickly you see that you know the word, you know what it means, you know how to use it. But the moment you start speaking actually in a conversation or just recording yourself, right, having a monologue or self-talk or anything, you seem to fail at articulating your thoughts clearly using the right words and the precise words. Why it happens, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Before we move on to the real point and the main point of this matter, we need to understand the difference between two types of vocabulary in terms of, firstly we have, of course, passive vocabulary, and passive is basically, sounds obvious, it's just, it's in your brain, you have learned it, you may have, read it somewhere many times, and you may have had it in your memory, in your word bank for a long time. But using it actively is what you lack at, right? So there's passive vocabulary and there's active vocabulary. Difference is very obvious. Active vocabulary is that chunk or set of words that you effortlessly incorporate in your conversations whenever you're speaking, right? So how do we actually go from passive to active vocabulary? That's the real question. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. So passive vocabulary is the process very simple. You're reading something and you look up the word in the dictionary, or and you know the definition of the word, and you're pretty clear about the whole meaning and even the context of the word. That is your passive, I'd say, word bank, right? And how do we exactly turn that passive into active vocabulary? So I'm going to present you a process, basically, and a method that's worked tremendously well for me. I call it contextual word mining. Now, I talk a lot about I'm obsessed with the context because everything is connected to emotion, and the brain craves emotion. So context gives you the emotion. Obviously, because you know what happened before, and your brain has this tendency to deduct, right? And it goes into this mode of, guessing the meaning that's going to come in the later part of anything that you're reading or listening to. So contextual word mining in simple terms is basically you hunt for words, not to understand them or not to collect them, but rather to learn to use them. Sorry. So basically it's an active process and a very conscious, deliberate effort to choose and identify a set of words that you find useful, that you think you might need to use it, and it's just helpful, right? This is one important thing, that you need to be very have clear understanding of what you're aiming at. So what do I mean by that? It means that you're basically, first thing is interest. If you're not interested in that subject, because there is no such thing as a vocabulary, it's always very specific to the subject or the field. So we call it a domain specific vocabulary. So for example, you don't seem to understand much of mathematics, right? Or you don't seem to understand much of technology. I won't suggest you to read about or watch videos about these subjects, because you might want to do it, but you won't do it. Your brain will just just it won't respond in a positive way, and your productivity levels will fall, right? So you just need to protect yourself from this stage, right? Don't go in that part. What you're going to do is basically find your interests. Find a subject that you feel to have some level of understanding. That's very important, and you want to basically like to learn about the subject. Now, for example, let me give you a very specific example. For example, you are interested in coding. Now, you go to Google. You may find a book, a PDF book, or maybe a blog, or you're reading a technical documentation, and you're going through it, and there are many words that you're just you're like, I know this word, but I don't usually use it. I need to know how to use it, right? And I must use it in my conversations or whenever I'm writing or communicating, in speech, or just when interacting with people. So that's exactly what you do. You write down that word, have a notebook, have a journal, write it down, keep it yourself. Now, the rest of the process is very important, and this is probably the main thing, that you need to deliberately use that word everywhere. Just take some time out, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, use those words, because firstly you're connected with that word because you find it interesting and you thought it would be helpful. So there's connection, there's context, and there's emotion. So it's a lot easier to do it this way rather than just memorizing lists of words with isolated words. So another suggestion would be to go into phrases and sentences rather than the very separated and very alienated words. Again, because brain craves meaning. So you need to connect it somewhere in something with knowledge that you already have some background. So I hope I've explained the concept clearly. Contextual mining. It's not any way in any way about picking and choosing and just collecting random words. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that you need to look for only memorize or learn the words that you want to use actively, right? And note it down and use them, right? And use them over a period of time. Repetition is key as well. Consistency is key as well. So this is the whole concept, and it's a very simple concept. It has worked very well for me, quite beautifully. And I think this is one of the only things that we need to understand, because it's not about for example, you're reading something and you're pretty good at you're comprehending the text, but at the moment you have to talk about the subject, you're like blank, and the words don't come out. That's very, very I'd say it's depressing at times. So you need to just protect yourself from this situation, because it can really endanger your routine, your learning pace, and everything basically. So I think this is it, and I'll see you guys next time.